Week commencing 22nd of April is probably going to feel pretty intense. Let's have a look and see what's going on. All the weeks in April are pretty intense for one reason or another, and this one is no exception. I mean, what follows is by no means an exhaustive list of the transits that are going on this week, but it is the ones that are catching my eye and the ones that I feel that are relevant to the energies of the week that are coming up in the cards here. So there's a distinct flavour this week, which is very much internal rather than external drama. The first thing that I want to start with, even though it's already happened, is the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. Now, if you're interested in what that means on a really deep level, there are plenty of videos out there that you can go and have a look at. Just search for them. And there are a lot of very talented astrologers who've broken down not only what it means in the here and now, but showing you the patterns throughout history. And I really would advise, if you're interested, to go and have a look at those. But the point that I wanted to make is that this is not a one-off, it happens on one day and then that's it, it's done. Whenever a planet comes into conjunction with another one, what it's doing is resetting the cycle between those two planets. Like, everything runs in cycles. Astrology runs in cycles, tarot runs in cycles, everything. And this particular cycle takes, I think it's about 13 and a half, 14 years to complete. Between these two planets. And so what's happening here is Saturday, as I'm recording this, just gone, was the seeding of a new cycle that will run for the next 13 to 14 years. It doesn't have to be dramatic right now, but it's certainly heading that way. The point of this is to unshackle us from what we're chained to, so that we can see opportunities, new opportunities, or we can create new opportunities, or we are liberated from a way of thinking that stops us from accessing those, or whether indeed we're being thrust towards an opportunity that we didn't even think that we wanted. Think about the energy of the tower and how it rediverts you onto the path that you're supposed to be on. Now, that was the first thing that I wanted to mention. The second thing that I wanted to mention is that Mercury retrograde, which is happening in the sign of Aries, is coming to an end this week on the 25th. Now, it will also be conjunct the north node of the moon when this happens, and I don't think that that's a coincidence. Aries wants us to drive forwards. The north node in Aries wants us to drive forwards. Mercury stationing direct, because it's been retrograde for this side, stationing direct is going to take a little while to ramp up. So don't think that from the 26th you can start doing, making big decisions and planning big changes or executing big changes in your life, because it's going to take a little while for this energy to wind down, that retrograde energy. It takes a couple of weeks, and it's going to be mid-May before we're actually completely free of that. But as the energy starts to wind down, there'll be a kind of fading in and a fading out of the retrograde energy, and a fading in of the now it's time to do things. It gives us an opportunity to reflect before we act, and I think this is the way that we've seen the Aries energy maturing. Certainly I've seen it in the readings that I've been doing for Aries over the last few months. There's less of an action for action's sake, and it's like, what is actually meaningful? Like, what is meaningful to initiate? What is meaningful to drive forwards towards? Is this in alignment with the cycle that I want to be involved in the next 13 to 14 years? Now, we also have a full moon in Scorpio, and this is probably what's going to bring the most feeling of intensity to this week. Whenever Scorpio is involved in anything, intensity is the watchword. It's going to be opposing the sun in Taurus as well. So we have this polarity of form and transformation, right? And we have to find a way to balance between the two. There's a cautionary note about throwing the baby out with the bathwater when we've got a full moon in Scorpio. It's just like, try not to go to extremes of, destroying everything and breaking everything down. You've got to be clear about the ramifications of doing whatever it is that you're choosing to do. But at the same time, it's like, what do we actually need to feel comfortable? Now, you've got those two things going on right there. What have I written here? As we wrestle with themes of release, which are necessary to realign with the potential that the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is starting to show us, right, making us aware of, likely we're going to find that repressed emotions come to the surface. Now, this could include uncomfortable revelations of truth this week. And those are truths within ourselves, but they can also be truths within our relationships with other people, situations that we find ourselves in, that sort of stuff. It could reveal manipulations, whether it's you inadvertently manipulating someone else or realizing that you're being manipulated by someone. It's really, really important to avoid power struggles this week wherever possible. And here's the thing, the energy of this week is looking within. So if something happens and you see red about it, right? Let's say something's come up, you found out that somebody's been deceitful or someone's being cowardly or something's happened that triggers you, and likely you're going to get triggered in one way or another this week, right? Our immediate reaction will often be to lash out, to verbally strike at the person that's done that. But I want everybody to just pause and take a step back and say, what in this moment is it showing us? Remember, I'm always saying your triggers are your friends. What is it illuminating in you? There's going to be an intensity of emotion all around, and likely it's going to be uncomfortable. And I'm kind of bringing another couple of things in a second. But we're dealing with themes of depth and authenticity. I mean, superficiality is going to feel completely fucking abhorrent to you this week. But it's all about internal examination. And I would really suggest that if you're going to go on deep psychological dives, right, and deep psychological examinations, they need to be of you and not of the people that you are dealing with. That's really strong. Now, there's another aspect to this, one that's already happened and one that's going to happen this week. So on Sunday, the sun was square Pluto. So we've got that big Pluto energy coming up there. But it's also going to square the moon this week too. So this gives this entire week a really Plutonian flavour, right? We're talking about things being dredged up from the deep, and they're probably not going to be very pleasant for whatever it is that comes up, whether it's things that we see about ourselves or whether it's things that we see about other people that are then triggering realizations about ourselves. But it's all about the pursuit of authenticity this week and truth above everything else, because quite frankly, I mean, truth is the highest vibration that there is. It's not love, it's truth. And I think in order for us to really get to a point where we can consciously contemplate the exploration of our potential, I'm always saying this, we've got to bring our shadow in, right? There's got to be a point of integration that happens. And uncomfortable as that is, the benefits are manifold moving forwards. Now, I want to show you what I got here on the table. And I couldn't believe how years and years I've been reading tarot, and still I get all kind of happy clappy about just how accurate it is. We've got the Seven of Cups here, we've got the Five of Swords, we've got the Ace of Swords, and we've got the Ace of Pentacles there. At the bottom of the deck we have the Three of Cups and we have the Ten of Wands. Now, these two cards here, generally speaking, are really quite uncomfortable cards, right? We've got the Seven of Cups there that talks about not only confusion of an emotional nature, but illusion too. It's a Scorpio card, actually, like it's Venus in Scorpio. And there's a question of, with Venus in Scorpio, there's a question of what you value and why. And because it's Scorpio and it's not entirely straightforward, it's like, where in your subconscious are you wedded to a value system that isn't really in alignment with your higher goals? Where are you wedded to a particular way of seeing the world? Where is your ego trying to make things more comfortable for you than if we were resonating in an energy of truth would actually be what you were dealing with? We've got the Five of Swords here, which for me is always talking about cognitive loops. I don't hear anybody else talking about it in that way, but that's just what I see when I see this card. It's an instability of thinking, right? It's one that takes us away from a truth rather than closer to it. You'll notice that it's Venus in Aquarius as well, right? So we've got the energies of Venus in two fixed signs here. And it's all coming down to, what do you stand for? Who are you? What are you about? What do you value? What are your core principles? And do you actually work to those all the time? Or is there sometimes mental gymnastics that are involved in us as much as other people? And the thing is, when we see it in other people, we take it personally. And I've been bringing up the four agreements quite a lot recently, just in the last week or so. And the one tenet of that sits with me, has sat with me more than any of the others. I literally can't remember the other ones, right? Is that don't take anything personally. I mean, what happens when, there's a truth that comes to light in terms of the way that somebody has treated you, is that you're witnessing their projections, right? They're telling you about them rather than you. Now, that's really easy. That's the first step. The next step is, what in that situation are you seeing about yourself that you did not see before? Like, where is there the instability in your thinking? Where is the gymnastics? Where is the kind of foggy and unclear emotions that are firing all of the time? It's very, very likely that everybody is going to find themselves triggered by something this week. And I would really advocate for stepping back and trying not to be too impulsive or allow yourself to explode in a big ball of emotion. But then, for some people, that might actually be what's required, right? It might be that enormous, intense release. But because the Five of Swords is here and the Ace of Swords is here, I do feel like it's about making sure that we are questioning ourselves first. We are recognizing within ourselves what needs to be changed first before we go around dictating to other people what they need to change, And the Ace of Swords and the Ace of Pentacles here is absolutely perfect, because the Ace of Swords is quite frankly just the truth of the matter. And people say that truth is subjective, but I'm afraid I don't agree. I feel like people's individual truth is subjective, but there is something entirely objective that sits beneath that. And in those situations, what we're not doing is saying, well, you acted like you didn't act very well in this situation, and I didn't act very well in this situation, but because my ego says that I can do no wrong, like, I am now going to be just pained by your actions all the time. The bigger truth here is that everybody projects, everybody does things wrong, everybody has ego gymnastics going on. And the fundamental truth is, we choose what we react to. And if we're in a situation where we feel completely overpowered by our emotional reactions, then we've lost the battle. We're not choosing anything. We're being a slave to our emotions, and our emotions were formed many, many years ago, and they're not wise. It's only by introspection, it's only by challenging internal narratives, it's only by taking a moment to step back and go, what is all this about? Why do I feel like that? Why is this so important to me? What have I lost here in this situation? What do I perceive that I have lost here in this situation? And is it actually true? The Ace of Pentacles is an incredibly valuable energy to be here. It's actually called the Darkening, which I really, really like. But the point of this is with both of these are seeds. Now, remember what I was saying right at the beginning about planting a seed for a new cycle. We're not just planting seeds for new cycles, we're planting seeds for new versions of us. Be under no illusion, there is a massive upgrade of humanity going on at the moment. Whatever way you want to look at it, that is what is happening. Like, in my personal opinion, we are raising the bar of the collective unconscious, or at least we're trying to, right? Kind of push it up there, because it will always deal with the lowest common denominator. And I understand that people who are spiritual are kind of doing the heavy work at the moment, but there will come a point where people come to meet us there. And between us, we lift that up and we make it something much more significant than where it's sitting at the moment. The shadow cards at the bottom of the deck are really interesting. We've got the Kindred and the Burdened one, Three of Cups and the Ten of Wands. I mean, this is talking about, burden. But it is talking about completion and endings. It's like where we have made things difficult for ourselves by being a lower version of what we could be. If we just took the time to consider ourselves, our reactions, our emotions, and we are not our emotions. You need to be very, very clear about that. We're not our thoughts either. We are something that sits entirely outside of that. But we have the Three of Cups here, which is emotional support networks, or the people around you. Interesting that it should be here when I do feel like this is a week where everybody's going to be getting triggered and things are going to be coming up to the surface. But it feels like there's a veil of illusion that is being removed this week, provided you are willing to engage with the dismantling of that illusion. Personally, I really like the fact that underneath here we have the Fool. It feels like there's lots of hard work here, and there is lots of hard work here. But at the same time, there's the promise of relief and release and hope and trust and faith and all of those good things that we associate with the Fool, but the beginnings of a new cycle. I can't tell you, what is this? It's the 22nd of April here today, and I cannot tell you how much I have changed in the last 3 weeks. I'm actually baffled by how much I've changed. And things that used to bother me don't bother me anymore, and I'm finding myself really sitting with what is important. And I'm feeling I'm more able to actually not just identify, but articulate to my loved ones what those things are. And this week, I'd like to say what this week does is begin the process of just planting the seeds in everywhere. But I don't think it's quite as straightforward as that. I feel like this is the last shaking, if you will. The last kind of rumble where we get things come up to the surface. You know what? You're putting things in a jar. Like, I don't know, rice or flour, right, in a pot or something like that, right? And you fill it up and you look at it, it's full. And then you just take it and you just pat it like that, right? And the air escapes and the whole thing compresses down, and suddenly you've got a quarter of it more. You can put some more stuff in. Like, this week feels like that to me. It's like, get rid of the air, get rid of the stuff that is taking up space, and we can fill it up a little bit more. And then we're ready to start planting seeds. Then we are ready to start embracing the energy of May, which feels really hopeful, I have to say. It's most of it is going to be taken up with Taurus season, and Taurus is Earth. What we've got is the possibility that the work that we have been doing over the last few months, and specifically over the last 3 weeks, is now ready, has now created a ready state for us to put things in, to give form to what we have learned. We are embodying it. I think just being aware that the week is going to be intense is enough to be able to catch yourself and create that space for you to contemplate what has just come up here. So, I'm going to leave it there. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you soon.